So springtime is just around the corner, and you must be wondering or have wondered why you're spending the extra money, time, and effort to use a starter application. A lot of times when I think about starter applications, I think about the 4 steps of germination. So the first step happens right after you put the seed in the ground. That seed imbibes moisture, 50 to 60% of its weight in moisture. And what that does is it hydrates enzymes as well as plant growth regulators in that seed and starts to activate the seed, so it turns the lights on. The second step would be after those enzymes are hydrated, they need to start breaking down the sugars and starches in the endosperm. And what enzyme that does that is called amylase. Now, amylase needs a phosphorus source. That's why phosphorus is a very important ingredient in the starter. It helps with that pop-up effect or that energy piece. By having phosphorus there, that means amylase can break down those sugars and starches faster. And when it breaks them down faster, it needs to move those sugars and starches into the embryo that's just becoming a seedling. In order to do that, it needs zinc. So zinc is a forklift. That would be step number 3 that moves those sugars and starches to that embryo, feeds them to the embryo so it can shoot up and above out of the ground. And then step number 4 is optimizing those PGR ratios, specifically cytokinin, auxin, to make sure that those cells are dividing and that they're differentiating into the right components that the plant needs at that timing. So we might understand what phosphorus and zinc do in that pop-up application. Those are 2 very important, the most important ingredients in a starter application. But one product that we like to partner with phosphorus and zinc is a PGR called Ascend Squared. So you might be wondering what Ascend Squared is. Ascend Squared is an auxin-dominant 3-way PGR, so it has a high amount of auxin in it, also a moderate amount of gibberellic acid, and a small amount of cytokinin. So these PGRs are optimized here at the Innovation Center in River Falls, and we've tested them out in the field for the last 5 years, looking at the response that we see. Before I talk about the specific response we see, I want to talk a little bit about some of the anecdotal evidence of how we identify how a PGR is working. One thing that we see consistently with Ascend Squared is we get more plants coming up out of the ground quicker and sooner. This leads to more vigorous plants, more consistent emergence, and ultimately, a lot of times we see a higher stand count in those fields, closer to what you actually put down. The next thing that we get with that consistent emergence is we get more evenness in ear set. Okay, so we get evenness in ear set, and upon digging a lot of those plants that are even ears, we have a more robust growth of roots down below ground. Primarily because of that increased auxin rate that we put in early in the season. So auxins increase that root growth, and that really enhances that ear set and girth and fill late into the season. Now, what really all that means is more yield at the end of the day. Our data from 4 years of testing, 67 locations, so that Ascend Squared gives an average of 3 bushel per acre when compared to just phosphorus and zinc alone. So the next time you think about a starter application, I want you to think about those 4 steps to germination and what they're actually doing to your corn plant. Phosphorus and zinc are setting that corn plant up to emerge and come up out of the ground, and the addition of a PGR like Ascend Squared is really allowing you to maximize the mileage that you're getting from the phosphorus and zinc and let that plant take on anything Mother Nature can bring at it through the rest of the season.